Was visibly nervous. You could hear it in his voice. You could see it in how he was moving. And then his guide said, most people stop and refuse to step out. And the guy from CBS stepped out and his leg was shaking and it hit a solid surface that looked like space. And then he stood there. Instincts are what you see through your goggles, and they may be absolutely false and totally contrary to reality. But the power of instincts is that they control your emotional response to life. And you inherit your instincts from your cultural and family background, which means that your ability to trust is either helped or hampered by the cultural and family background that you grew up in. Are you able to trust? Emotions. Are they experienced or ignored? Are they experienced or are they ignored? In dysfunctional families, emotions are unmanaged and often ignored. In performance-based families and confused families, the parents do not know how to coach their children to manage their emotions in a healthy way. In a healthy family, healthy parents allow their children to experience their emotions, even the negative ones like anger and anxiety or shame. But then they talk to them about their emotions and help them to learn how to deal with those emotions. They're not ignored. So growing up, were your emotions experienced or were they ignored? Family issues, comfort. Can you give and receive comfort as an adult? Do you ignore or do you permit yourself to experience your emotions as an adult? That will be directly related to your culture and family background. Comfort. Can you give and receive comfort? I remember going to seminary when I was 23. And I went to an ultra right-wing fundamentalistic Baptist seminary. It's one of the great cultural experiences of life. I also worked on a PhD at Oxford, and that was a great cultural experience. And I noticed that liberals hated conservatives the way conservatives hated liberals. And as I observed it, I thought, these guys deserve each other. But anyway, with the fundamentalists, got a great biblical education, and I was introduced to a rather strange culture. By accident, a couple Pentecostal guys got into the school. It was like elephants getting into the school. How on earth did that happen? And they had a huge advantage over the Baptist students. They were actually happy human beings. And they were naturally attractive because that's what happy people are. If you want to be naturally attractive, just be happy. They were naturally attractive, and I went out to coffee with one of them, and I'm 23, and we're coming back from coffee at a coffee shop in San Francisco, and he says, you know, David, I really love you. And then he reaches over and gives me a hug. It was the first time in my life that I was hugged by a sober man. It was the strangest experience. I thought, this really makes me nervous. I feel homophobic. The beauty of true stories is you laugh because you know this kind of story is true. Secondly, I began to like it. And then I thought, maybe I'm homosexual. Now, when you grow up in a dysfunctional home, you actually have no idea what you are. So you can be ambushed almost by any emotion or any desire, and if you make the mistake of defining yourself by that emotion or desire, it may screw you up the rest of your life, but the disadvantage of a dysfunctional home is you don't know what you are. Now I enjoy hugging people, but I enjoy the fact more that I actually know who I am. That helps. So anyway, can you give and receive comfort? As an adult, that will be determined largely by your family and cultural background. But here's the wonderful thing. The most powerful force in changing instincts is the gospel of Jesus Christ and the truths of the Bible. They're not taken seriously enough. The most powerful force in changing instincts, in changing emotions, is the gospel and the truths of the Bible. They are designed to change the inheritance we have received from our cultural and family background, but we consciously have to address them. Repent of what? The unhealthy stuff that I've received from my cultural and family background. So here's the survey, and I'll read it to you real quick, and you can answer yes or no real quick, or if you don't have an answer, don't answer it. When you were growing up, did you ever feel tension, long-term tension dealing with family members? Number 2, did you feel you had to be extremely careful in growing up in how you responded to family members? Number 3, did some family members behave as if they were driven by inner tension, urges, or desires? Again, this is always long-term. This is the general impression of your family background. Did people in your family act the way they did because they felt they had to maintain an image, not because they felt free to be themselves? Number 5, were any family members constantly critical of other family members? Number 6, did you feel more accepted by family members when you were doing well than when you were not? The classic sign of a healthy home is when you ask an adult, when you failed as a kid, did you still feel loved? And when the adult says yes, you can be virtually certain they grew up in a healthy home. Because a healthy home knows that failure is a minor detail in life, and everybody fails. Number 7, did family members verbally attack each other when there was a conflict? Number 8, was it sometimes hard to know what a family member was thinking or feeling by what he or she said? Growing up, I could absolutely assure you I had no idea what my father was feeling. I had no idea what he was thinking, and it was pretty much the same for my mother. An astonishing thing, we never discussed, there were 6 children in the home and 2 adults. We never discussed once our father's alcoholism. We didn't know how. And I'm quite certain my father would have exploded. And the one time I mentioned my father's alcoholism to my mother in an angry way, got my face slapped. Well, you can pick up a hint like that pretty quickly. Anyway, number 9. Hey, Gail, how did we end up with 11? Oh, we got 15. And I said 10. That's how we ended up with 11. Sorry, folks. Still have confidence in me. I know what I'm talking about, even though I don't know the difference between 10 and 15. Number 9, was there a dominant person in your family that others worked around? There sure was. Number 10, did you feel the need to go along with certain family members to keep the peace? Number 11, did you feel uncomfortable to be yourself with your family members? Number 12, did you feel uncomfortable to say what you felt or thought around family members growing up? Was your home a place you would not have chosen to go when you wanted to relax and have fun? Number 14, did you sometimes get tense with the prospect of a family gathering? Number 15 is totally throwaway question. It's irrelevant to your score, but it's an interesting question. Did you consider the atmosphere in the family you were brought up in to be more or less normal? More or less normal. I just absolutely assumed that every home in the United States had an alcoholic in it. I was really shocked the first time I was in a home on a Friday night. I was about 16 years of age, 16 or 17, on a Friday night, and everybody in the home was sober. I was asked to visit the home. I was quite shocked. I thought, what? I don't know what to do with this. This is uncomfortable. Everybody's nice and everybody's sober. Certainly hell's going to break loose any second, because that's the way reality works. If the total number of your yes responses is 1 to 5, your family atmosphere was possibly healthy, unless you're profoundly confused. If you grew up, and that's a serious comment, because sometimes parents will train their children to robotically believe that they grew up in a healthy home when they actually grew up in an incredibly controlling home. But a truly healthy family is a family that's built on trust and the free gift of affection. And if you grew up in such a home, most likely as an adult, you find it easy to trust. If you grew up in a healthy home, most likely you can experience your emotions, and you intuitively have this belief that if you have a painful emotion, such as shame or guilt or worthlessness or anxiety, you have this wonderful intuitive belief that eventually it will dissipate and go away. That is the gift of a healthy home. A truly unhealthy home, the gift is you sincerely believe that emotional pain will never go away and it's random. Because an unhealthy home is always random and you're always in some level of pain.
Can you say that again?
Sure. Which part?
If you grew up in an unhealthy home, then
Oh, okay. If you grow up in a truly unhealthy home, when people come out of a truly dysfunctional home, I'm convinced they walk out of that home with low-level depression, but they're so used to it, they don't even know it. It's just part of the air they breathe, low-level depression. But also, they've been trained in a home where the parents sort of have a random approach to reality. There's nothing all that predictable except the pain level in the home will either be low or it will go high, but it never goes away. So that the young person in the home becomes convinced intuitively, here's the part you want to hear, that emotional pain never goes away. While the person in the truly healthy home, who grows up in that home, assumes that emotional pain dissipates over time. More drug addicts come out of very unhealthy homes than come out of healthy homes. Now, drug addicts come out of healthy homes, but they're proportionally far lower in proportion than drug addicts who come out of truly unhealthy homes, because if you grow up in a truly unhealthy home, you're never taught how to manage your emotions, so you have to kill them. Drugs, alcohol, sex, or work, or a combination of those things. Because we've never been taught this thing called self-management of emotions. And in the Bible, self-management of emotions is always through a healthy relationship to God and a healthy relationship to trustworthy people. Did that answer your question? Okay. You can experience them and you're not afraid of them, emotions. In the healthy family, you can give and receive comfort and encouragement. The most powerful force there is acceptance, which is based on love, and encouragement. I'm convinced you can do this. That's why there are commands in Scripture. It's God's way of saying, I'm convinced you can do this. I'm convinced you can do this. You can give and receive comfort. It is striking, absolutely striking, in the statements where God self-identifies himself. When God the Father or Jesus Christ identifies who they are, when they describe their own personality, they invariably say they are compassionate. They are comforting. It is a standard part of his self-description. And it is an obvious attribute of a healthy home. The parents know how to listen to the pain of their child and talk to the child and comfort the child, possibly physically.